Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again for another episode of Way of the Warrior. And I'm really excited about this one. I really am. My name is Trevor Martin, host of Way of the Warrior. And kind of give a little backstory. Started Way of the Warrior after having some conversations with some amazing individuals. And I thought, you know what? I kind of want to go out and on social media and look for individuals that are willing to tell their story about how they're trying to put goodness and light back into this dark world via their personal and professional life. So I go out, ask around, and see if I can, grab anybody. And it just so happens that I got another badass individual over here, Sarah. And if you notice in her little tag there, sass in the middle there is ought on. And before Sarah, so first of all, thank you very much for joining me here today. Really appreciate that. I'm glad you're here.
For sure. Thank you, Trevor.
No problem. So I want to kind of ask, you know me, and we've talked about it, but can you tell people a little bit about why Wonder Woman over your shoulder there? Why Wonder Woman?
Why Wonder Woman? You know, I think we go through these times in our lives. I know I've gone through these times in my life, and I haven't always been able to see myself as the hero.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, like you go through things, and sometimes real life it can feel very mundane, even though at the same time it feels very heavy and it can feel very dark. And so tapping into an alter ego, right, a superhero, it kind of like puts me in that headspace that I can't always get there myself. But then once
right
I
on.
live in kind of embodied superhero space, then you're like, oh, I kind of am like this. I definitely tap into that at the gym. I love even just training. My daughter is like, she just hit 70 pounds, but right, like I pick up 60-pound farmer carries, and like the dog 60 pounds, the kid 60 pounds. I got a farmer carry 120, right? But tapping into that hero mentality, I think really, it just really drives me.
You know,
I know you're all about that.
no, yeah, I'm all like, just can't stop grinning. What I really love about that is actually the pose that she's in because she's like this, right? That Rocky
Yeah.
pose right at the top. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
victorious. Like you can't
Yeah.
shut this down.
No.
I can relate to before we dive into a little bit of your backstory. I can totally relate to that tapping into the superheroine aspect, right? I think that, there's a lot of times like when we talk about the gym, you look at yourself and they're like, come on, like you got this, like get up, like let's go one more, right?
Yeah.
We try to get our mental state there. And sometimes it does take, tapping into that alter ego. I can remember when I was younger, trying to figure out like I was getting bullied and I'm thinking, how do I survive this? And so I started relating to, superheroes, things like drawing them because of like, oh, maybe one of them will come and save me, or maybe even better, maybe I can be like one of them and I won't get bullied at all. And you know how
Yeah.
that can go. But it's crazy the things that we will utilize in our surroundings to tell ourselves like, hey, yeah, you can do this. You can.
Yes.
I'm very excited to, I honestly got a sneak peek into some of the things that you're gonna talk about. I'm excited to dive in because I know the audience is going to be able to relate to a lot of what you've been through and a
Mhm.
lot of what you put yourself and pulled yourself through. So a couple things. Want to definitely hit on the trophies behind you as we move forward and that painting. Absolutely, it's one of my favorite things in the background. But before we do that, will you take us? Let's rewind a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Sarah Sass and some of the things that you've had to overcome in your past.
Yeah, so like every good hero story, it starts when you're a kiddo, right? And
Right?
you know, you look back on it, I see like little Sasser, and you can still see that little spark, and you don't know what's ahead of you, but you can still see that there. Yeah, I grew up in a real small town. I grew up in kind of a bubble, farming community, real small town. We had our first stoplight in the town when I was 10. I graduated with like 100 kids, no football, like really just an insulated, isolated experience. And in that way, like my parents and my small family was like all I really knew. And like, not to shit
Yeah.
on my parents, but they were late boomers and they were kind of lost in the sauce of their own drama and their own relationships. And so maybe like a lot of Gen Xers, I was drinking from the hose, playing outside, parenting myself,
Fair,
through most of
fair.
those years. And I always kind of felt like a weirdo. I always felt a little bit
Mm,
different, a little bit too much, a little bit maybe like too sparkly or too loud for a small town, and so that was, I think, really the first time I kind of chafed at that. And I'm like, I don't know what's out there, but I know that like this isn't it. Like this isn't all there can be to life. And I think the story of that follows me through my life is that like I never really got comfortable with myself. I always liked me. I always thought the sasser was cool. I always liked, my jokes and laughed at my own jokes and I thought I was cool as shit. But I didn't really think anybody else would. My folks were,
yeah.
they did what they had to do. And I spent most of my life kind of hiding the sass, right? Kind of just trying to blend in, wearing the olive drab, going to business school, doing all the stuff you're supposed to do. You get married, you buy the house, but never really like letting myself go toward what I wanted to the most, or really just go toward just being a lit up person. And it took, like a lot of people, it took the shit really hitting the fan for me to say, you know what, like no more of this, right? Like no more of doing this for other people, no more of hiding my light, no more of the chip on my shoulder, right? Like it's time to really embrace who I am and let that be, let that take me wherever it's gonna go without this like, like this predetermined path that we all have for ourselves and just being like, you know what, at this point now, I'm gonna roll through it. And, through my 20s and 30s, I was married and divorced a couple of times. I did that thing. I did the corporate job. I climbed the corporate ladder. I bought a house. I checked all the boxes. I had a kid. I had a career. I did all of those things. But under all of it, there was a real strong undercurrent of like, I fucking hate this. I'm
Yeah.
like, this
Yeah.
is not me. This is not real life. I don't know who I'm living for, but this somehow doesn't feel authentic. And it really wasn't until a few years ago when I got real serious about like, I don't want to live this way. And
Yeah.
then the universe hands you great trauma and tragedy, and then that's the transformational stuff, and you come out, you crawl through a mile of junk, and you come out clean.
I love that. You crawl through a mile of junk and you come out clean.
Yeah.
I for a lot of people that know me, that know the kind of journey that I've been on, it still continue to be on. Like I struggle with all of that, right? I struggle with the, the darkness of the abyss, climbing, that's the terminology I use, I suppose, and coming through that, right? And what's the vision? What's the greater purpose? What's the meaning of all of that garbage, all that you talk about, crawling through all that shit, all that, right? And
Yeah.
then we come out clean on, or more refined on the other side. And I think that a lot of times as we come out on the other side and we look back, part of it, part of us goes, okay, hold on a second. Why did that have to happen for me to be refined? Wouldn't I, why couldn't I just like, okay, why did I have to go through that to get to here? And that's something that as humans we'll continue to ask, we'll continue to struggle with, right? Why was that put on me? I didn't deserve it, but I got handed
Yeah.
a shit sandwich, and now here I am, right? And to your point, right? Then it's time to decide, okay, do I warrior woman up and I get through this shit, right? Or do I wallow in it, right? And
Yeah.
we continue to trudge through until we come out and break free, knowing that there's probably other shit headed our way, because it
Sure.
always is. But then we know, as that other shit's headed our way, we know, or we have a better idea of how to handle that, because what we just went through. It's all that moxie. Um, Okay, so I think this is a good time to really talk about real quick, because I know it has to do with your past. That
Yeah.
trophy, talking about Moxie, that trophy that's sitting there. Tell the
Yeah.
audience a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, so on my 24th birthday, I walked into Larry Holmes' gym and I was like, I
Yeah,
want to
you
be a
did.
professional
Yeah.
fighter, right? Like I just, because I listen, I was angry, I was afraid, I wanted to be tough, and I needed to do something that would calm the chaos in my mind. I'm right, sports, triathlons,
Let's go.
daredevil shit. Like there's that part of you that's like, I don't know, but I have to like this wildness, this has to go somewhere channeled because this is gonna burn
Yeah,
me or somebody else out.
right.
Yeah, so yeah, at 24, I walked into Larry Holmes' gym and was like, "Hey, I want to be a boxer." I got a tall, I got long arms, I got a long frame for, for being what I weigh. And I started training, and I loved it. And the funny thing was, when I love boxing, I actually loved the practice and the grind as much as I love the actual fight. Because you would
I
spend,
love that.
right, 20 hours a week in the gym, sparring, double end bag, push-ups, right? Like run, the road work, you spend all of that. And in the ring, especially amateurs, the fight is like 8 minutes long. I mean, it's the longest 8 minutes of your life, don't get me wrong,
Right.
and you're stuck and win the whole time. Yeah, so I started fighting at 24. I took a little break to go back to grad school, and then at 29, I was living in Philly, and I went back, and my dream was always to fight in the Golden Gloves, which is a big, like the big amateur tournament, right? The Golden Gloves. So I did. I fought in the Philadelphia Golden Gloves and won my weight division. And that was, and then I respectfully bowed out. But boxing, it was one of those things like you start as like, oh, I think I need this. And like we're saying about the fires you're put in, this was one where I put myself intentionally in it, right? Like I chose the challenge.
Yeah.
And the training that I got through boxing has really been the foundation of so much of the other transformation in my life because
I'll
boxing is,
preach.
right? It's not really about the other opponent. It's me versus me, right? It's me versus me every day, doing the work, getting in the ring, right? Getting punched in the face for no good reason. But that discipline and learning how to manage my energy, and also then as I got older, fighting not from a place of being angry and a chip on my shoulder and like fuck you, prove you, but fighting from a place of a wisdom and a strength and almost a relaxation in the ring that I didn't have when I was younger. So it's
Yeah.
been a huge part of my life journey as my time in boxing.
Yeah, I love that. The Mike Tyson, one of the best quotes, right, or favorite quotes is everybody's got a
Yeah.
plan till they get punched in the face. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna do this. I got this.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
gotta pivot. I gotta figure some other shit out.
Yeah.
There's moments that stuff just hits you, and one of those just happened where you said, I learned to come at this without a chip on my shoulder, with a little more grace, with a little more right. And I learned that, and I will be honest with you, um, that's something that I'm actually still learning. I mean, you can ask my wife, you can ask the kids, right? When I feel when I feel something that is um unjust, or I just don't feel that it's right, I can be one judgmental son of a gun. I can. And it's something that I'm working on, and I'm not proud of it, but I immediately, and Jamie, she'll call me, she'll be like, hey, check it. Like I will immediately go to that, like, oh, I cannot believe, right? But then and a lot of it stems from the things that I'm working through, that past, present, future, right? The things that I'm trying to do, as I'm trying to grow, as I'm trying to be better. But a lot of times that little chip on the shoulder will actually rear its head, rather than that those moments of grace that I should actually embody because of the things that I've learned. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you saying, like, look, I went through this, and it's actually allowed me, through all of it, through the grind, through the learning, and the practicing, it's actually prepared me to simply be better and process and go through these tough times in a better way. So
Yeah.
that puts a smile on my face. I appreciate that. Um, Okay, so now let's move real quick to the painting with the smiley face and
Oh
all of the
yeah.
markers, because and then we'll move to your present. But what's
Yeah.
the painting about?
So I have one shorty and Claire, she's my light. And
Uh-huh.
that was the first time I ever gave her markers. So she was like, I don't know, 16 months old. And I was like, oh, like I have this vision, right? I'll draw a big smiley face and she'll color it in because I was a first time mom and you think, oh, it's 16 months.
Oh, between the lines.
You're
Yeah.
right. Not at all. So so I gave her the smiley face and she just did that. And I was like, Oh wow, that's exactly how I feel, right? Like I was like, that's such a great, like moment. So I've always saved that, and she still is an artist dog. She has a little ebook, and that's her jam. She's an art girly, but I love it. And it's just a reminder, right? Like you have the happy and you have those emotions, but there's so much, and just
Yeah.
to always, right, to not always try and keep it in that neat little circle, not always keep it in that neat little smiley face. Like sometimes just let the mess be the mess.
Just let the mess be. I absolutely love that, and how it relates with the whole background, everything tied together. And I like that it's sitting right there by the boxing, right? You think about that the mess or whatever and how you got through yours. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you're doing currently in the present, right? So we talked a little bit about some of the things that you've had that you faced that you went through in the past and including the boxing, like how you got through those things. What right now, what in the present, what is Sarah Sass working on? Like what are you doing right now?
Yeah, so I'm working on something really exciting. And, for a lot of us, right, it's born out of one of those transformational moments.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
because I wasn't, this isn't, it's funny, right? This stuff doesn't come because on a random Tuesday, everything was fine. And I decided, oh, let's start this new chapter. Like, no, it was, necessity is the mother of invention. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
about 3 years ago, I had one of those epiphanies. I got laid off from my job. I had a few months severance. I really got myself out of survival mode, did a lot of healing. And it was a blessing that I didn't see coming because that was January, the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, my home flooded in a hurricane in St. Pete, Florida. And it was very traumatic. I didn't choose to evacuate, so I wrote it out on the counters. The refrigerator was smoking, the dog, the alarms. I mean, it was every bad, trauma memory you don't need. And I got through that flood and I saw the community pull together. Every kid at the school was affected, all my neighbors were affected. It was just my daughter and I. We lost about half our stuff. I had to remediate the whole house. It was really a transformational moment. And I thought, wow, this is a great time for me to step back maybe from my career and step into something that I've always wanted to do, which is more speaking and community building and really just uplifting people. And so I started something called Practice Your Positive. I wrote a keynote. I had a whole business plan, Trevor. It was beautiful. It was this beautiful plan. And then my home flooded again. 13 months after the first flood, and only 6 months after I finished rehabbing it, I had almost 4 feet of water in my house. And we lost everything, including the house. And it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, we said we're going to just practice this positivity. We're going to share positivity in the world. I had a business plan and everything. And then there was a sequel that I didn't see coming. And I faced that choice of like, do I give up on the dream? Do I just go back to corporate? Do I just, lick my wounds and just, not grasp for more? Or do I say like, this is exactly the time to double down. And so I chose to bet on myself, and that's what I'm doing right now. So I lead something called Practice Your Positive and a community called Team Positive, all about building resilience, connection, and momentum during chaos and times of change and times of uncertainty. And really, I think like you and like a lot of us wanting to be what we needed, right? Wanting to be the light, be the thing, do the thing, have the community that I needed when I was going through it. So that hopefully somebody else in a similar situation, whether or not it's a literal house flood, we all face these storms, divorce, addiction, job loss, family, right? We all face these storms. And how can I use what I've learned and just my natural talents and energy and zest for life to help other people be prepared and to get through their storms of their life. And so that's what I'm focused on now. I do some speaking, I do some team building, but really too, I'm still in the building and getting out of survival mode from my own, from my own trauma. So it's a fun mix of building and dreaming and launching, but also like you, a lot of inner work to keep me, upright while I do all of this.
You know, I absolutely love you for all of that. And it's funny, I'm sitting here going, mother, like there's the universe has ways of going, hey, you should probably listen to this. And it's funny, I had a moment before this call, before this recording, where it was a what about me moment. It was one of those where like you have a certain situation, like, yeah, but what about me? And
Mm.
I'm sitting here going, listening to your story, like, I'm not on the counter with 4 feet of water. I'm not sitting here going, I have a plan. I just got punched in the face. How am I going to even do this? Because now the universe is doubled down and I appear to be getting fucked again by the universe. Like, this is horrible. I'm getting flooded again. What the shit? Right. And so I'm just sitting here listening to your story and I'm that what about me moment is sitting here, I'm checking things off going, I'm fine. Like, what am I even concerned about? So it I appreciate there's people that don't double down. There's people that
Mhm.
don't, I'm double down, but I'm gonna bet on me. I'm gonna bet on me again, and we're gonna do it. And clearly you are. The
Yeah.
second thing is I can remember um raised in a Christian home, extremely religious. Mom and dad always said, "Hey, you need Jesus, you call out, and he'll be there holding your hand. He'll be there for you." And I can remember calling out for Jesus, and Jesus didn't show up, and time and time again. And I can remember drawing superheroes and things like that, and superheroes. I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to be there, and obviously it's all in the imagination. But what's not in the imagination is real people, people right like you, people that are willing to say, you know what, uh, been through this shit, and I needed somebody, and I didn't have anybody. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be the somebody that others need. I ain't got a lot, but you know what? We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it. And I think about your little ray of light. Your little girl. I think about her and the the things that she is witnessing her mother do, and that she will absorb, that as she continues to grow, as she continues to be a little ray of light, that she just right, that she just creates that ripple effect, that positivity, or that positive effect, excuse me, out in the world, as she keeps growing up. um
Yeah.
I think that what you're doing is, and I'm sure you're here, so I think what you're doing is commendable. I'm excited to continue to watch you grow, and as you do your speaking events, we're stay in touch because I definitely want to see you and attend one of those. Um, Sarah, as you look towards the future, right? What do you hope the next year, the next 3 years? What do you hope to have accomplished?
Hmm. The next year, 3 years. Yeah. You know, I, it's a funny mix sometimes. I don't know if you see this too, where it's like sometimes I'm so in the day to day, and then sometimes it's the
Oh yeah,
vision, and it's toggling back and forth between what am I actually doing today and what's the big vision, and then trying to match. Like, is everything I'm doing today match up to the person, the vision, right, the plan for the future? Because listen, it doesn't always match up, right? We
right.
all have, like, right. Eating 17 Oreos and doom scrolling on TikTok is not matching my 3 year plan. Um, yeah, so I have visions for the next year. I am launching officially. So I've been doing Team Positive as an event series, but officially launching the community on Circle next Friday. So very
Yeah,
excited for
yeah.
that. Grow that. Yes, put all my content in one place and have one place, and not just a forum, but truly a practice space. Weekly challenges, weekly huddles, right? A place for folks to actually practice their positivity, train energetically. So getting the circle community up is a huge, I'm very excited for that, and that's a huge goal. Also started my book. So that will be out in the beginning of next year. And this isn't the memoir. This isn't the 300 pages about my boxing and my childhood. This is going to be the playbook. It is the team positive playbook. Situations, how, what you're going through and how you can practice positivity through them. Totally 100% value add, a playbook on how to practice your positivity through whatever you're going through, big or small. So the community, the book are big things. I'll be honest and put myself on the list. I've recently started some more in-depth therapy for my PTSD from, the floods and stuff. So keeping
Right on.
myself on the list and keeping myself happy, healthy, and hot. Sorry, that's what I aim for. Happy, healthy, and hot. That is on the list for next year. And then continuing the speaking because I wrote the first keynote and I I didn't give it because it wasn't true, right? By the time I was ready to share it,
Ooh,
all this other story had happened. And then I was in a position where I couldn't really talk about the second flood. I couldn't say the word house without like sobbing for about 6 months.
yeah.
So, I'm in a position now where I can talk about it. And so then it's really just getting the reps out and getting that story out and hoping that my story inspires other people to take action before, during, or after their own times of chaos and change.
And then you should definitely write the autobiography, the biography. You should definitely do that because
And then
the
we'll do,
people need to hear
yeah,
that
we'll do the
boxing, yeah,
long
all
form
of
one.
that.
Oh, the boxing stories. That's a whole set. That could be a whole podcast. Everyone should just share their crazy stories from, yeah, the warrior times.
That'd be pretty sick. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad, Sarah. I will tell you this. As we close this out,
Yeah.
I am glad that I met you. I'm honored that you've been on the show. I'm excited to well, I'm first of all honored for to hear your story, but excited to see you and watch you grow. So for the audience, where can they get a hold of you? Y'all, you definitely need, you need Sarah on your roster, ASAP. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Where can they get a hold of you, Sarah? What platforms are you on?
Yeah, best ways to get a hold of me, LinkedIn, I'm very active. So, LinkedIn is one place, especially if this is a message for your team or organization for, resilience, connection, and momentum through tough times. On the fun side, Instagram, Sara Schaeffer, also Team Positive HQ. You'll get a little bit less of, less varnish, less polish, real stuff. But so Instagram and LinkedIn are best places. I also have a podcast. It's only 8 to 10 minute episodes twice a week. So you can check out Practice Your Positive Daily on YouTube. Twice a week, short bits, again, energetic training, just like the gym, but for your energy and your positivity. So I would say those are three best places to catch up with me. And DMs are always open. I love collaborations, do a lot in the community. So always happy to meet people and hear what's going on.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm excited. Thank you very much for all of those for that information. Audience, make sure you check her out. Like I can't stress that enough. Um, Sarah, I would also like to have you, but once you drop that book, about where
Yeah.
you're talking about positivity, definitely want to have you back on here, on the show talking about that book and how it can, we can. I'm going to get it so we can talk about how it can definitely impact other people's lives for the positive. Um, I'm all smiles here. I'm excited like I said, to watch it grow. And thank you very, very much for being with us here today.
Yeah. Right back at you. Thank you, Trevor, and to everyone in the audience. It's been my pleasure. So thanks for opening up this space for all of us.
Of course, of course. Audience, make sure you connect. It's the last time I'll say it, but you got to do it. You got to do it. And have a great night. We'll see you out there.